I'm Dave, and this is Austin Eats. Today I'm making a very special steak. This is a Wagyu ribeye that I've dry aged for 7 days. Now I know you normally dry age an entire roast, but I wanted to see, is it possible to dry age a single steak? And what is it going to take to do that? Well, I've got the answers for you. We're going to cook this thing up and see how it is. So let's get cooking.
I'm going to use a 1.5 pound ribeye that is American Wagyu. This is an expensive steak, but I think it's going to work out just great. It looks nice and fresh, and it's about 1.5 inches thick, and this will be the perfect steak to dry age. So in order to do that, I'm going to use these Umai dry age bags that I got on Amazon, and I'll put a link in the description below. I'm simply going to put it in the special bag that comes in the kit, and this is a bag that actually allows air to escape and go through the membrane of the bag. And I'm going to get this basically in the bottom of the bag, and then there's a little piece of material that goes in the seam in the corner. I'm going to line that up and put it in my food saver, suck out all the air, and this thing will be ready to go. So this is ready to go on a rack and then a jelly roll pan and into the fridge for 7 days. 7 days later, this is what I've got. It has really dried out quite a bit. The color is deep, deep red. There's virtually no odor to this whatsoever, nor is there any liquid that has dripped out of the bag. This is what it looks like coming out. Let's open it up and see what it's like. So as I opened the bag and actually pulled this steak out, I noticed that there was no odor. It wasn't wet. It wasn't slimy. It was just dry. It was very unusual, unlike a steak that you would take out of a package. So it's really very dry all over. And what's interesting here is the fat dried out, but not nearly as much as the meat. The meat really dried out. And there's areas that are really dark, like in that top corner, that just are really dry. So I now know that I've got to trim a lot of this off. So it's going to take a little bit of work here to get this down to size. Now, what's also is interesting is it lost over 2 ounces of weight during the aging process. So that was a fair amount. Now, I've got to do some trimming before I get this ready to cook. And if I don't do that, it's just going to have a kind of a nasty crust on it that's all dried out. So not only am I going to take down the fat areas that have been dry aged, but I'm also going to carve away a very small piece of the surface of the meat. So that will give me a nice area that's exposed to season and then prepare to cook. So it's actually not very thick. It's really only maybe, I don't know, a 64th of an inch thick, maybe the thickness of the knife blade. It's not very big at all. It does take a little work to get in there and trim this thing down. I probably could have done this a little bit faster if I had put it on a meat slicer, but using a good sharp knife works just fine. So clean up the other side here very quickly, and then I'm going to get this ready to cook. Now, I'm going to do this a couple ways. I'm going to first put this in a sous vide bath. The reason I'm going to sous vide this is, number one, it's an expensive piece of meat, and I've spent a lot of time getting it to this point. So I want to cook it appropriately. I want to make sure that it comes out in the best possible way. So if I put it in a sous vide bath, I can guarantee that if I set it for 122 degrees, it's going to come out at 122 degrees. And then I'm going to do a quick sear in Wagyu beef tallow when I go back outside and put this thing on the grill. So this is just about done. And guess what? I lost another 10% in the trimming process. So this steak is almost 20% smaller than when it came out of the package from the market. That's okay. I'm going to put this in my food saver bag, and I'm going to add a couple of things in here that will actually help keep it moist and help with the cooking process. First goes in a little salt, a little pepper. I'm going to put in a couple of sprigs of fresh thyme, and I'm doing this on both sides, by the way. And in addition to that, I'm going to put in a pat of butter on both sides of the steak. And when I have that in, then I'm just going to simply seal this thing up. And, oh, forgot the garlic. Got to put garlic in. Then the butter. And then I'm going to seal this up, and it goes in the sous vide bath. So this is now ready to go. Here's my sous vide bath. I've had it turned on for a little while, so the water's already at 122 degrees. I'm simply going to drop the steak into the middle of the sous-vide bath, right in the center of that rack, and make sure that it's fully submerged. I want to make sure that water is flowing all around the steak, including the top, and I was able to get this in all the way and have about a half an inch of water on top. Now I'm going to add some ping pong balls. Why? Because ping pong balls are real good insulators, and by floating those on top of the water, it helps the sous-vide bath work more efficiently. It doesn't lose as much heat out through the lid. So that's ready to go. Time to light a barbecue. My griddle plate is nice and hot, and I'm going to add some Wagyu beef tallow and just sear this steak a bit on both sides. Remember, it's already 122 degrees, so it's not going to take long. So a couple things I learned here. First of all, the steak was really tender and just full of beef flavor, and that was clearly enhanced by the dry aging process. I think searing it in the Wagyu beef tallow added to that beefy flavor, but I'm not sure how much. I think most of it came from the dry aging. I will tell you that 7 days was too long to dry age a single steak. You could get away with a lot longer in a roast, but not a steak. There's just not that much surface area. Next time, 5, maybe 6 days tops. Having said that, this was truly a wonderful steak. I really enjoyed it, and I really encourage you to do it. Hey, if you liked the video, let me know, and please subscribe. I got new videos coming out a couple times a week. Thanks for watching. See you next time on Austin Eats.